Hello, I'm Lois Letchford. I'm the author of the book Reverse to Memoir and a literacy problem solver, and sharing with you scientists who changed the world from the book Eureka. And today we're talking about or reading about John Doulton, who lived in 1766 to 1844. He's a Quaker chemist who revealed that matter is made of atoms. Greek philosophers of the 5th century speculated that all matter was made up of invisibly tiny, indestructible particles, known as, today we know them as, atoms. But it was the English chemist John Doulton who was far from the first to come up with the atomic theory. What he did was turn the idea of an atom from a piece of speculative whimsy into a sober, experiment-based scientific hypothesis about the nature of matter. He was born in Cumberland in the north of England. His schooling lasted until he was 11 years old, and by the time he was 12, he was employed as one of the school's teachers. In due course, he got a teaching job in Manchester, a major city, and joined the Manchester Literary and Philosophical Society, one of the intellectual groups that had sprung up in the UK following the formation of the 1660 Royal Society. His great love was meteorology, and from 1787 until the end of the life, he kept a detailed diary of local weather events. His first book was a treatise called Meteorological Observations and Essays. His interest in meteorology naturally led him to think about the atmosphere, and from there it was a short step to studying air and gases in general. From experimentation, he derived an important principle about the behavior of gases, now known as Dalton's law of partial pressure. If you put a gas in a container, it exerts an outward pressure on the container's wall. Dalton's law says that if you have a mixture of gases in the container, each of those gases exerts the same outward pressure that it would if that were all of the gases were in the container. But what could gases be made of? Scientists like Robert Boyle and Isaac Newton had explained that pressure exerted by contained gases in terms of tiny particles bouncing against container walls, and this explanation made sense to Doulton. But he went one step further. What if it wasn't just gases that were made up of these tiny particles, but all forms of matter? He put this speculation together with an observation made by a French chemist, Joseph Proust. Proust had discovered that when you separate the chemical copper carbonate into its constituents and weighed with these constituents, you always got the same ratio between them, no matter where the copper carbonate had come from or how it had been produced. Moreover, the ratios could always be expressed in terms of simple whole numbers. Thus, he put forward his law of definite proportions. When elements combine to form a compound, they always do so in the same proportions. But Proust didn't get very far in trying to explain why of this. Doulton did. It seemed obvious to him that it was the atoms of different elements that were combining to make compounds. All atoms, he thought, were made of the same basic stuff. They were indistinguishable from each other except in terms of their mass. So the story goes on. There are now, as of April 2016, 118 recognised elements, the last 4 having been isolated in the late 2015. When element number 101 was discovered in the mid-1950s, it was named Mendelevium in the great Russian chemist's honour. Doulton knew none of this. So, this is Doulton, John Doulton, atmospheric scientist, who showed us what things consist of. Enjoy, hit like, hit subscribe, share it with others, and find out more about these people who changed the world and changed the way we think about so many things that we know today. Thank you.